marks a new beginning. Thanks for supporting a total reinvention. The soul is still here, but the vibe's a little different. Unpredictable, hide the kids and the women. Sports of all sorts, music mixed with living. Rep New York City, but ain't the politician. Always bring the heat, Steph bacon in the kitchen. Big shout to y'all, I appreciate the listen. Donnie put the rest, but I'm still in the best. In the world of what I do, all y'all know the rest. I live it, I breathe it, I'm the whole definition. The pinnacle, the ultimate, I'm on a new mission. The Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph, featuring the one and only Mike Steph, the best in the world of what he does. Tap in.
What up, people? I said, what up, people? Welcome to a special edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast, featuring the one and only Mike Steph, best in the world at what he does. Yeah, man. And more specifically, this episode, Mike Steph, up the table. And I know y'all probably are wondering, what's so special about this episode? Well, there's two things. One, more importantly, this is my year anniversary. It makes 1 year this past Wednesday that I've started this reimagined Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. Yes, the YouTube edition. I made my foray into the YouTube streets. But another one, which is more spontaneous, is the fact that I actually, as luck would have it, I actually have a guest. Go figure. And this wasn't even planned. This was like planned of like maybe like 2 days. Not even 2 days ago. Like 5 minutes ago. So making his third appearance, actually his first appearance on the YouTube streets, this guy right here.
This guy.
Yeah, that guy. Which is crazy because usually I'm on that side and he's on this side. But being the fact that you see this heading, that's why it's kind of crisscross. Yeah, so what's up, Mo? How you doing?
What's up, man? Congratulations on your 1,000th episode.
Well, not yet, but at least 1 year. 1 year. And we're on the road to 50 and the concurrent road to 200. So this is episode 45 of the new version. And then when they actually combine like the superpowers like we're doing right now, we're going to have a big celebration. So I was just telling them, I'm not sure how this usually works on this side. You probably heard everything I was talking about, right?
I did. Congratulations on your 1 year.
Thank you. So this is like so spontaneous. Like 5 minutes ago, I'm getting my notes up, getting ready. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have a little free agent frenzy. And then my partner from Hidden Gems Football just happened to text me like, yo, what's going on? Like, I'm gonna read this verbatim. Exactly. I'm blowing you up. Yo, NFL going crazy with the moves. Is the off season always like this? And I'm going to leave the last part out because that's between me and you. So, but yeah, this was crazy. So I figured, I'm like, all right, if you got a few minutes, what do you think of the smorgasbord of moves that's gone on so far? Trust me, we'll do the intro at the outro. So yeah, we're getting right to the shits.
All right, so a few things going on. One, I don't usually freestyle. I have to plan everything out. So freestyling here is going to be kind of interesting. But with that said, a couple of moves I've been like, wow, that's amazing. Like the Russell going to the Steelers, I kind of expected it. I don't know what I think about it. I think that, Mike Tomlin's probably going to keep his streak of being over 500, but I don't think they're like contenders or anything out of it. And then, the Titans signing Pollard, I was like, you didn't use Mark Henry wrestling. See? You didn't use Derrick Henry last year to his capacity. So I guess you're not re-signing him. But now you got Pollard, who, when Dallas tried to use him at full capacity, he didn't really do what was expected. So I don't know if they're going to try to split time with him, Tajay Spears, and that's what the idea is, and figure you could get Pollard a little bit cheaper than you could get Henry. But it's interesting. And now the Giants just lost Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. That's actually was going to be my lead of this episode. As piggybacking on your Pollard comments, I was reading, because I was actually doing some homework. So I was reading, and I think their offensive coordinator or their offensive line coordinator, I know Bill Callahan, he is actually a proponent of running back by committee. So for them to actually show this investment into Tony Pollard, maybe he's looking back at, well, when he was part of a two-headed attack with him and Zeke back in Dallas, he gave more punch. Dallas's mistake was thinking he was a lead hog, which he wasn't. He proved that last year. So maybe that's their thinking, and maybe they figure they get a younger version. Well, not a younger version, but just a younger replacement in Derrick Henry, because they pretty much ran Derrick Henry into the ground. But makes you wonder this, because now all the rumors are that Derrick Henry is probably headed to the Cowboys. So would it have been possible for them to actually have made some type of deal, even though I know both of them were free agents, but maybe there was, maybe you could have actually, both teams could have got something out the deal instead of just filling out the money. I don't know. It just seems like too much of a even swap.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I definitely hear what you say about the committee, because Tajay Spears looked like he was pretty good. The only thing that is interesting about the Pollard idea was Pollard was with Zeke. Zeke was a power back. I don't think Tajay Spears takes that power back role. So do they kind of do the same thing? I don't know.
Well, maybe they'll pick up somebody in the draft that'll get the hard to earn yards, and you can, like you said, you can have Spears and you can have Pollard, alternate, so neither one of them. Maybe they'll go to a three-headed running back. Now, because I know time is probably limited on your half. I'm going to get to the main thing that I want to talk to you about, which is the big headline going into last offseason was the devaluing of the running backs. I mean, we talked about it on Hidden Gems Football. We talked about it in the lead up to the season of how all these running backs, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, amongst others, were being shafted by their teams, being put with that franchise tag and being undervalued. Now, maybe you have something to do with the extra $30 million in cap space each team received because of the spike, or maybe other teams are actually valuing these running backs more than their original teams. Because Josh Jacobs, I'm quite sure you heard he signed with the Packers. I'm not sure about the terms, but he signed with the Packers. That seems like a good pickup for them. And of course, Saquon Barkley goes to the Eagles. What? I want your 2 cents on what happened. How you feel about that with Saquon and the Eagles? Do you think that was a petty move?
I think it was. I think that he felt mistreated last year, coming through the whole contract, and the whole year he basically showed that he was the franchise, and it wasn't Daniel Jones. And after that, I think he was like, "Oh, Philly wants to give me the money." Yeah. I'm sure he went where he felt he was going to be valued the most and get the most bang for his buck, in his bank account. But also, they're a contender, and they're just a couple years removed from being in the Super Bowl. And I think to stick it to the Giants, yeah, I think that's an added bonus. I expect him to run for 200 when he faces them.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the way Philly is set up, I believe Kellen Moore is their new offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. The way they're set up, and they're pretty much they were a run heavy team, or they was classified as a run heavy team, even though they passed the ball way more than a lot of people realize, because you had AJ Brown, and then you had the other guy on the other side. I always forget his name, the number 2 receiver. But if you do that read option with Jalen Hurts and you have Saquon Barkley in the back, where can you really focus on? I mean, AJ was eating before. You have the retirement of Jason Kelsey, so they're all going to take a hit on the offensive line. You know, Lane Johnson, which was injured the majority of last year, the latter part of last year, which really inhibited their 1-2 to actually grind the rock. But I think part of it was petty on the Eagles' part. Part of it was petty definitely on Saquon's, because I think I even heard prior to me recording that the Houston Texans gave him a similar offer. He turned it down. And in reality, he would actually guarded more money in Houston because no state tax. But maybe it was just, I'm familiar with the area. All right, Jersey with the Giants, Philly, I can still pretty much stay in my same home base. Maybe that's part of the reason, but makes you wonder, especially with this last move, and I'll tell you in a minute, because I'm not sure if you realized, saw that come along the line. Could they could have gotten this deal done a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. They chose not to. Now, did Philly overpay? I don't know. Maybe they overpaid considering how people think of it in NFL terms, but for what that cog that they need in their offense that stagnated last year, to them, if it means another Super Bowl appearance, I'm quite sure they were like, look, all right, we paid him $16 million. It was well worth it. Plus, it takes the wear and tear off of Jalen Hurts being the actual bell cow of the offense. Now they can actually just hand it off. So it kind of helps keep their investment in Jalen Hurts nice and healthy. But do you believe that Saquon Barkley went back to the Giants and the Giants said, you know what, that's too rich for our taste, so I pass? Or do you think Saquon just took the bread and said, you know what, y'all had your chance 2 years in a row, I'm gone?
Yeah, I would tend to think it was the second idea, because I think he was probably out like mid last season. At least, but I don't know him, but I probably would have been that way. I'd have been like, okay, you showed a lack of respect for me. Now I'm still having to carry, I literally have to try to carry this offense by myself. Yeah, I'm out. And then, like I said, going to a contender, like you pointed out, still near the family, don't have to move the family around. That seems like a pretty sweet deal. If I was him, I wouldn't have went back to the Giants to ask them if they want to equal it, because they had their chance last year.
And then I think right before I pressed record, there was news of a trade with the Giants and Carolina Panthers. The Giants traded a second rounder and a fourth rounder to Carolina for defensive end Burns. And they're going to sign Burns to a 5-year deal with $87.5 million guaranteed. So that combined with, I believe they signed John Runyon earlier to fortify the offensive line. It seems like they came to the realization that we have a lot of holes to plug, and diverting in which giving all this money to Saquon, probably didn't fit into their window. But at the same time, Joe Sheen or whatever the hell his name is, he didn't draft Saquon. That was a Gettleman move. So he has no attachment to him. But to replace Saquon with Devin Singletary, look, Devin Singletary is okay, but I don't. What, he's going to be the main back with Daniel Jones returning? You've yet to do anything. I know it's just the first couple hours and nothing's set in stone, and because it's like the tampering period. But they've yet to do anything to really put any type of explosiveness on the offensive line. I mean, on the offensive side of the ball. You know, you subtract Saquon and you plug in Devin Singletary. There has to be another move that's going to correlate with what they're trying to do in East Rutherford. Do you have any thoughts on what possibly they can be thinking, or like maybe offensive? I mean, wide receiver threats. Do you think they're gonna go draft, or do you think they're gonna go into free agency?
All right, so I want to circle back to exactly what you asked, but I want to pivot slightly for a second because of the Barkley thing. You brought up a good point about Barkley. The thing about Philadelphia signing him is that they can overpay because their window is now. They're trying to win right now. So like you said, if they get to a Super Bowl with Saquon this year, he basically already paid his contract, whether, you know, the back end, if they cut him or whatever, and then have to pay cap room for it. But in my eyes, the Giants aren't really close. So I can understand them needing multiple pieces and maybe being like, we don't want to have Saquon on the books for that long of years, knowing that running backs tend to decline, you know, pretty early and pretty swiftly. With that said, why are you trading assets right after that to pick up a win now guy that you're going to sign to a big contract when you still have to? Now you have, like you pointed out, you have the running back to fill because you had a premier one and now you don't, and you still don't have the wide receivers. So I don't know what they're doing on offense, and I don't think that free agency is a tough way to win. If you're close, getting a piece or two that make the difference could make the big difference. But if you're not close, signing free agents, I don't think is really the way that moves mass productive steps up. It does. You don't progress way up off of that. You go a ring or two. Back to what we were talking about with the Steelers, when they just want to get into the playoffs, to me, that's what it seems like they want to do. They want to get into the playoffs. They're not necessarily trying to get a Super Bowl this year. Getting somebody like that, especially since you got him at minimum salary, it makes sense. But to throw big contracts like the Giants are, they're trying to win now, but I don't see how they're going to do it.
I'm going to, since you brought up Russell Wilson, and pretty much, I want to say Pittsburgh is in between win now and going for the long haul because they have a stout defense. They have a pretty steady running game. Offensive line is decent. And they made the playoffs with the combination of Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mr. Trubisky. And quiet as kept, even though the score might not have said so, in that wild card game, that game was way closer than the score indicated because they were within one score, you know, which got beginning of the fourth quarter. Call goes this way, a ball bounces this way. They could have very easily stolen that game in Buffalo. And to tell you the truth, it was to Buffalo's advantage. And I'm not going into revisionist history, but it's to Buffalo's advantage that they postponed that game an extra day. Because if they would have had it in the conditions that they should have had it in, which was blizzard whiteout conditions, you can't tell me that there's a guarantee that Buffalo was going to prevail. Neither here nor there. That being said, Russell Wilson has something to prove because he's on a pretty much prove it or lose it deal. He got to make, if he wants to get another bag, he has to make do with what's going on in Pittsburgh. He has the weapons. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to kind of corral the overblown egos of the wide receivers that he has, because Johnson and Pickens, they do way too much. Maybe being the fact there's a structure in place with Mike Tomlin, Russell will know his role. He won't come in as the savior. He comes in as a cog, which he was in Seattle. Maybe it's more akin to what he was accustomed in Seattle of, okay, I know my role. I know my place. I don't have to really instill the culture because the culture's already there. I disagree with the fact that they can be a Super Bowl contender if you get the Russell Wilson from 2 years ago. Well, from let's say the last year of the Seattle years, Denver was a whole mess because it just started off wrong. So I hold him somewhat accountable, but then at the same time, last year everybody knew Sean Payton wasn't feeling Russ. At least he has somebody that, all right, they willingly brought him in. It's not like they inherited him and they couldn't wait to get rid of him. So I say all that to say, you say it's just guaranteed. Do you think it guarantees them a playoff spot, or do you believe that it's just one of those? Okay, they're going to keep competitive, but they could probably do the same with Kenny Pickett.
Well, Kenny Pickett, I think, is a subpar quarterback in NFL. So I think what I expect from Russ is he's high risk, high reward in how he plays, kind of. But at the end of the day, I expect him to be around average, average quarterback at this point in his career, kind of like he was last year, which works just fine for Pittsburgh. Like that works well for Tomlin. I disagree with you on one point because you said that you would have to get the Russell Wilson from 3 years ago, but he wasn't that good the last year he was in Seattle, in my opinion. So you'd actually have to get him from 4 years ago. And I don't know if we're getting that old Russell Wilson back. If we are, yeah, they are. They could catapult up into contenders, but I don't really think so.
Okay. I guess one of the last things I really wanted to pick your brain on, and of course, those shots at my brethren down in the dirty A. Kirk Cousins signs with the Atlanta Falcons, $100 million guaranteed. Your thoughts on this deal? Do you believe? Matter of fact, your thoughts on this deal, and then I'll follow up with another question.
All right. I mean, much like the Giants and Pittsburgh, I think Atlanta's in that middle ground somewhere that I don't think they're contenders yet, but they get an improvement at quarterback. So, now that I think about it, thinking it out, I guess I like their prospects for Kirk Cousins more than I do Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson. Kurt has not really shown the ability in the moment, the big moment, to do what he needs to do. But as the season goes on, he does have his big moments. It's just the super clutch times, he seemed not to really do it. But I would definitely want to have Kirk Cousins if I was at least 2/3 of the league. I would want Kirk Cousins. So, I mean, are the Falcons in the place? If Bijan is really that dude and then Kirk Cousins is that dude, maybe.
Do you have any concerns with him coming off an Achilles tear?
Well, it's funny because I wish I could tell you who said it, but somebody pointed out that the Achilles is kind of like the new ACL in that this is a basketball reference, but you remember Elton Brand? He tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
And when he came back, now he wasn't exactly a high riser anyway, but when he came back, he was done. He took all the time to heal up and he was just done. But since then, we've had a couple of people that have torn Achilles and actually come back and been pretty good. The chance of him re-injuring it are kind of high, but as long as he stays healthy, I think he can, get back to pretty close to what he was, hopefully.
Okay. The follow-up would be, there was all these rumors that was stating that would probably be the opportune landing spot for Justin Fields. Now, with all these quarterback opportunities being dried up, such as Gardner Minshew signed with the Raiders, and he's going to be, I guess, open competition with Aiden McConnell. And now with Kirk Cousins signing this $100 million guarantee contract with Atlanta, where do you find? Do you believe that Justin Fields would have been a good option for Atlanta? And where do you see Justin Fields landing? Because he's not long for the Chicago Bears.
To answer the last question first, I don't know. I don't know where he's going now. I kept hearing Atlanta and I kept hearing Pittsburgh. And honestly, I want to see him in Pittsburgh. As much as Russell Wilson seems like a guarantee solid season for them, I really want to see what Justin Fields was do because I think that's a place he could have blossomed. In Atlanta, maybe it would have been, they would have had to set up the offense particularly for him. But, it could have been a ground and pound like old school type offense, and I think they could have did all right. I don't know where Fields goes now, but I really want him to have a chance and see what he can do, because we see all the upside as far as like his arm strength and his running ability. But I don't know, doors keep closing.
See, I happened to go into Facebook streets earlier, and my brother-in-law from the A-Town, Mr. Fat Ass Beats of Low Fat, he, of course, is world renowned as a Atlanta Falcons fan, and he was very dismayed over. Well, I wouldn't say dismayed is probably me putting words in his mouth, but he was not happy with the choice of Kirk Cousins. It's like, he's an upgrade. He admitted that. And yeah, I'm going to blow him up right now because I'm going to read his comment because we was going back and forth. So I asked him, I was like, yeah, you happy with getting Kirk Cousins? He was like, not my pick, but he is an upgrade. So I was like, definitely an upgrade, but who did you want? Did you want Fields? He's like, yes. And this was his reasoning. He figured they got the weapons, so he thought that he would not be running for his life. And when you have to put a spy on the quarterback, it opens up everybody else, which I get. But I look at it in these terms. With Kirk Cousins now a part of the Atlanta Falcons fold, now you have a legitimate playmaker at every level of your offense. You have Kyle Pitts at tight end. You have Drake London hopefully coming into his own at wide receiver. You have Bijan Robinson. They're not going to be able to stack that box because now you have to respect what Kirk Cousins brings to the table, especially coming off that last year in Minnesota. So while you might have a longer runway with Justin Fields is not a known product. Justin Fields is not a finished product. Hence, that's the reason why he's on the trading block, and Chicago is stopping. It's not continuing to build around him. Meanwhile, they're proud to press the reset button, probably draft Caleb Williams, and say, you know what, we'll roll our dice with him. Plus, if you're going to give the exuberant amount of money to a quarterback, are you going to give this insane contract to Kirk Cousins, who, he's not going to ever take you to the Super Bowl, but he's going to keep you competitive, and he's pretty much a known product? Or are you going to trade assets for Justin Fields and have to give him a contract? I think he's going into year 4. Is he going to year 4? Yeah, he's going into year 4. You're going to have to give him a contract. He's not going to just want to come there just for 1 year on a proven deal. Now, if he's a backup, maybe he have no choice but to come someplace on a proven deal. Somebody gets hurt, different environment, he's off and running. But yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting move, especially with the South, the NFC South, because you have Baker Mayfield. He kind of set everything off last night with the 3 years, $100 million contract, or was it $140 million? I'm not sure, but I know it was like insane because everybody thought he was going to top out with like 25 mil. But you kind of figured that was going to happen when Mike Evans decided to resign. You figured they were probably going to keep Mayfield. What do you think about that move? Do you think that was a good move for the Bucs? It was a great move for Mayfield, but do you think that's a good move for the Bucs to kind of stand pat? All
right. Well, to me, Baker Mayfield had a career year. We haven't seen this Baker Mayfield for a whole season ever. He had his moments with Cleveland, but not for a whole season. So I don't necessarily think he's going to repeat it, but having a decent quarterback is so important for the offenses, and there's a limited amount of them, which is the reason that Kirk Cousins, who still has never gotten to the top threshold and look elite when the time really needed it, gets a huge contract like that. To me, the money doesn't really mean much, because if you're a quarterback and you're a free agent and you're going to be a starter on a decent team, you're going to get big bucks. It's just the way it is. I don't even look at the contracts anymore, I'll tell you the truth. So I don't know, if I'm a Tampa Bay fan, I'm not thrilled that I have Baker Mayfield for the next 3 years, to tell you the truth. But I also understand that I don't know what I would have had if I didn't have him. So, you saw it. Well, actually, last year's a bad example because a lot of these backups did come in and do pretty well. But typically, a backup comes in and you see the difference. So, I wouldn't want it to be the Bucs GM. Let me put it that way.
Okay. How much time you have left?
I got a couple minutes, and then little man is gonna come and punch me in the face.
Gotcha. So which goes. So I'll end with this, since it's already kind of queued up. Bryce Huff, formerly of my New York Jets, signed a record contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. Seemed like the Eagles are just at the strip club, just throwing out the bills. And Bryce Huff was one that kind of showed some leg. Pause. So, do you think that the Jets will regret allowing Bryce Huff to get out their building? And do you think that that Bryce Huff is going to live up to now the expectations that the Philadelphia Eagle faithful are going to have, because he's making 17 mil with a possibility of going up to 20 mil per year. I think they said that's one of the highest amounts for, I guess, his position ever.
Yeah. Philadelphia, I think they're in win now mode, so they're trying to acquire as much talent as they can. As you mentioned, they lost Kelsey. They also lost Fletcher Cox to retirement. So they may go backwards regardless of who they sign, just off of that. As far as the Jets, man, if I'm the Jets, of course I want to keep everybody on that defense. I wouldn't want to lose anybody. So, but with that said, I don't really know where their cap room is and what they're looking at as far as money and how they have to figure all that out. So, I would definitely expect the Jets defense to regress a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of expect that anyway.
Of course.
But I mean, but in all seriousness, they were so elite last year. That's what I mean. I wasn't even throwing a shot. Not on your podcast. I might throw a shot on football. but it was just that they were so elite that it's hard to carry that over from season to season to be up to that level. So, I expected them to regress back to the mean, even if it's just because of injury or free agent signing or loss.
Yeah, I'll let you go with this. What bothers me about that, because they probably could have signed him and kept him in the fold if they would have dealt with, if they would have gave him extra money last year. Instead, they just gave him like a little $4 million and just said, "Okay, we'll see you when you hit free agency." And he pretty much let it be known in the middle of the season, like, "Look, I'm not giving y'all a discount. Like, he's an undrafted free agent coming out of college. You developed him into this. Now, we kind of sort of writing on the wall because they drafted Will McDonald last year. So you kind of like, all right, yeah, he's automatically going to be the heir apparent, because it's almost like they went in with the expectation we're going to get as much as we can get out of him this season, and hopefully McDonald will progress and turn into Bryce Huff. But the difference is you spent the first round draft pick on McDonald. Huff, you got. Now, in reality, what they need to hope is, that McDonald will take that next step in the offseason, like Jermaine Johnson did last season. I mean, from his rookie season to last season, where he actually became a force. But that, to me, if I'm Quinnen Williams and I'm Quincy Williams and I'm Jermaine Johnson, part of me is like, all right, I got more time. I'm going to have more reps. But at the same time, the reason why this defensive front was so stout is because the rotation of players, always fresh players. And now, as the season goes on and people start keying on you more, you're going to start wearing down, and be more susceptible to injury. But that's neither here nor there. But like I said, I don't want no beef with little man. No problem, no beef. So I just appreciate you for jumping on. It's for all of the new listeners, viewers of this iteration. Mo came on to my I believe he came on to damn near my 50th episode overall. And then he came on, I know he came on to my 100th episode because it was so much that we had to break it up into 2 episodes. So it's almost like these landmarks. Somehow, some way, Mo makes an appearance. And like I said, this one was purely spontaneous because I'm pretty much right about to, and I'm like, oh shoot, got a minute? And I was shocked when he said, yeah, I can hop on. I was like, yes, get the fuck up out of here. Wow. But with all that being said, I appreciate you, brother. Tell little man I said hi. Tell the Mojo Queen I said hello. And I'll hit you up. Matter of fact, I'll hit you up later. And cause I got some info to talk to you about.
All right, good stuff. Congratulations on the 1 year of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph.
Thank you, brother.
And congratulations to all your listeners for being able to see your face.
Yeah, because look, I got a fresh cut this week. Last week I was like, damn, I wanted to postpone, but I was like, you know what? I had to get the masses what they desperately need, what they richly deserved. So yeah. So see you later, brother.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. Yes, that was the MoJo King, my partner in crime on 19 Media Group's Hidden Gems Football with a impromptu cameo, which is crazy because I had no idea. Like I said, I had no idea he was going to pop on. I didn't have any idea until about 2:00 this afternoon that this was going to be like a Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph NFL free agency frenzy. As of last night, I'm thinking, matter of fact, I'll tell you in a minute. So we're going to get this episode officially on the way, like 37 minutes into it, because y'all know I don't edit shit. So it won't be no repositioning of, I'm going to put the Mojo's situation, the MoJo King's appearance at the end or in the middle. No, that was our intro, folks. That was our intro. So without further ado, let's get this show officially on the road. Goodbye. And good night. No. The fuck am I saying? Good night. And goodbye. Bang. Okay. Even though we did talk about Saquon Barkley early on, with my impromptu guest, the MoJo King, what I wanted to talk about more specifically was more directly toward Giant Nation, Giant Faithful. How do y'all feel about this? Y'all can be honest. Y'all listen. Y'all got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Because if I'm dealing with something similar, but not to the degree that y'all are doing. This is a homegrown giant. This is someone that you forego. You foregone, however the saying goes. You eschewed picking a quarterback for this man. Look, doesn't he look great in that eagle green? Doesn't he? Now, I'm really biting my tongue because I'm really trying to be very thin on the Giants slander. I really am. Like I've told everybody that my late great brother, Kubiak was a wonderful Giants fan. So I told myself since his passing, I would not really rub any salt in the wounds. So I probably should get this picture off. Maybe this one will be better. But how do y'all feel? Because $26 million guaranteed, right? 3 years, $37 million. And this comes after the Giants agreed not to put the franchise tag on him. And as recently as last week, they asked Joe Shane, well, what's the update with you and Saquon? Do y'all believe that y'all going to have a long-term agreement And he was playing coy. He was like, look, of course, we want Saquon in the fold and everything. And I'm quite sure things will work out the way they're meant to work out. And I guess in his humble opinion, things were meant to work out with them parting ways. So remember back in the days, I think back in 2015, where they actually had the unmitigated goal to try to go for Super Bowl number 3 under Eli Manning, trying to get the last gasp, trying to get blood out of a turnip with Eli Manning. And you had the triumvirate of Eli Manning, Odell Beckham, and Saquon Barkley. And now you fast forward, I can't even say fast forward, it's more like slow crawl 9 years later. Eli ended up being cast aside. Odell has been traded twice since his debut with the Giants, and now you have Saquon Barkley with your hated division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. Which one would have been worse? Would it have been worse for him to don the putrid green of Philly, or would it have been worse if he would have worn that Lone Star on his helmet and joined the Dallas Cowboys? I don't know. Not only did they lose Saquon Barkley, they lost one of their defensive stalwarts from last year, Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney, he signed with the Green Bay Packers. And Green Bay, I believe, they lost the safety. I believe his last name was Savage, right? So they lost Savage, and they upgraded. Now Green Bay looks like they're going for it. Now, in my helter-skelter type brain, what am I to think? What am I to think when it comes to my New York Jets? Because even though we talked about it briefly before he had to bid himself adieu, this to me goes down. This to me has everything to do with the mismanagement of the salary cap when it comes to the Jets. They restructured Carl Lawson's deal to stretch out the money and have, pretty much, we're going to have dead money with Carl Lawson this year, because I'm quite sure he's going to be a cut this year and next year also. Aaron Rodgers restructured his contract to free up money. Don't you think that would have been money well served to try to keep Bryce Huff in the fold? But no, you know what we did with the extra money? We signed Randall Cobb, who I got what they were trying to do, but really wasn't a difference maker. We got Dalvin Cook, who we ended up releasing in order for him to actually try to pick up or catch on with the contending team. We wasted money with McCall Hardman, the snitch, the one that was given the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs game plans based on his disgruntledness of not being a featured player in the game plan. What are we doing? And I know we don't have much money to really throw around like drunken sailors. But, and I know usually the first to second days of this unofficial tampering period in the NFL free agency is equivalent to people pulling their Johnson out and having a piss contest to see who could piss longer and pretty much whose Johnson is longer. See, I am trying to censor myself a little bit because usually the COCK word would have came out my mouth or the DICK word would have came out my mouth. And I'm praying and praying that we have a bunch of illiterate people out in the masses that can't spell exactly what I just spelled. But regardless, what are the Jets doing? Have we gotten any type of traction with anybody? No, not at all. Not at all. We have multiple holes on our offense. We need a number 2 receiver. In some cases, we need a number 3 receiver because Alan Lazard, to me, if they could get rid for underneath his contract, they would. We're probably going to need a tight end, or at least a pass catching tight end, because we have Tyler Conklin, who was great in his role. We got rid of CJ Uzama, who was like, he was a piece of crap anyway. You know, yeah, he was a lot. We have Rucker, who's great when they actually utilize him, but he's really great with the run blocking and pass blocking, but with the run blocking, because I think there was a stat that we gained maybe an extra yard and a half when he was on the field as opposed to when Uzama was on the field. You know, do I really think that they're going to invest the number 10 draft pick on a tight end? I kind of hope not. But it is an area of need. But more specifically, our area of need is the offensive line. It's not. There are pieces in free agency that we can try to attain. But usually, the more desirable pieces, i.e. the more expensive pieces, but the more desirable pieces are usually gone within the first 2 days. We have limited draft capital. We have a first-round draft pick. We have no second. We have a third-round draft pick, and I believe we had a fourth. If I'm mistaken. I mean, if I'm not mistaken. Shoot, for some reason, something's telling me we have a first and we have a fourth, because one of those threes went to Green Bay, and the only silver lining over Aaron Rodgers getting injured was the fact that we was able to keep our first round draft pick. That's the only silver lining. But how many can you trade that number 10th draft pick and still get I believe there's a lineman alt that a lot of teams are hot and heavy for. Can you trade back, still get him, or can you start trying to reimagine the offensive line of, well, whether or not we're going to have Vera Tucker return at tackle, and then you can slot in Tippmann as a center, and then you can concentrate on guards, because guards are kind of cheaper in the free agent market, or you're going to have Tippmann as a guard, keep him as a guard, because that's what we drafted him for, I believe, and you can try to go on a free agent field for a center, John Runyon, who I'm quite sure that Aaron Rodgers probably would have loved to get. He went to our crosstown, technically, right across the locker room to the Giants. Now, Giants need offensive line help, but not as much as us. We'll win now, baby. They'll win later. I don't know. There's so many things. Like I said, I'm going way all around. In Atlanta, I'm piggybacking off our conversation with Kirk Cousins deal. Now, the one good thing about what Atlanta did with Kirk Cousins by signing him with that contract, and like I said before, it stabilizes that position. It allows the Falcons to divert their resources elsewhere to strengthen the other weak parts of their team. Their strength, they're strong at all 3 levels of their offense. But more importantly, and this is coming from me, just coming from my heart, this is one of the first times in recent memory that, especially in the NFL, that a minority head coach, a black head coach to be specific, is being given ample opportunity to succeed. In years past, Raheem Morris would have took over this ragtag group. Everybody would have known they need a quarterback to let this run to reach their potential. And they probably would have traded for Justin Fields. And that's not a slight against Justin Fields. It's just they would have took the cheap way out because they would have thought of it as in terms of, okay, well, we're going to make him get the most out of what we give him. Not we're going to give him the most opportunity to reach that brass ring. So I give Arthur Blank salute. Now, also concerning Atlanta, I wonder if Bill Belichick is kicking himself for being so stubborn in, I guess, in his demands of the pull that he wanted in that organization, or I wonder if this is the reason why the Falcons are like, you know what, Bill? We was interested in you, but look, we're not going to let you do this. We're not going to let you do this. No, we're not getting rid of this guy. We're not going to have you running this. We're not going to have you in charge of personnel. And maybe this was the vision of their general manager / president of football operations. Maybe this was their vision, and he was able to go to Arthur Blank like, look, you can bring Bill if you want, but I don't think Bill is going to be cool with what I'm trying to attempt to accomplish here. So maybe it'd be better if we can continue to build upon what we've done over the last couple of years in the draft. Like I said, Pitts, London, Robinson. Maybe now they can actually put Cordell Patterson on the chop heap, or chopping block, or the trash heap where he belongs. Like my trusty brother-in-law, Low Fat Beats. But yeah, it's very interesting. These first couple salvos in the NFL free agency period, and it's going to be very interesting that, well, actually very fortuitous for me, because if the next week is like this first 12 hours have been, I'm going to have loads and loads and loads and loads of content. Right around the time that I was kind of bemoaning the fact that sports is dry. Like I told y'all last week, baseball, please. Basketball, when the Knicks get fully healthy, come wake me up. Golden State, look, they got their rings. I'm off that narcotic. That's pretty much it. I had full intention on making this a wrestling / political episode because I was so in need of content that I could spew off, that I could just riff off of. And then the NFL, like they normally do, just sits in daddy's lap, gives daddy a nice lap dance, even though I hate strip clubs, but it gives me that nice gyration. Yeah, you see that gyration. You see that head. You see that head of the table. Luckily, you don't see my head. Pause. Well, not pause for me. Pause for y'all if y'all looking. But they just came and gave me like the best present ever. So for this 1 year anniversary, shoot, almost an hour done, and I didn't have to work. Thank you, NFL. Thanks a lot. Oh, one last thing. Because I almost forgot. T. Higgins. This is one last thing. T. Higgins, wide receiver extraordinaire of the Cincinnati Bengals, was placed with the franchise tag a couple weeks ago. And needless to say, he was not happy with that development. So he has officially issued a trade request from the Bengals. And due to the Bengals' history in honoring or really taking care of their players, the Bengals, unless they're probably blown away with offers, will probably stand pat and be unmoved by such actions. There was a photo that came out yesterday, day before, a photo of a celebrity sighting at UFC 299, I believe, with Agent Orange, Mr. Orange, 45, as they say, Nick Bosa, and disappointingly, Joe Burrow. Now, Trump is giving a thumbs up. Nick is giving a thumbs up. Joe had the shades on. He's looking like, damn, why couldn't I just told them no? Now, that led to a lot of speculation that, is Joe on that MAGA shit? Is Joe on that white supremacy shit? You know what? I was actually going to tell y'all what this is also a sign of, but listen, I'm not about that life. I'm 47 years old, and regardless, act like y'all didn't see that. But Joe Burrow, I think this might have been a lesson for him, unless he's really about that life. That might have been a lesson for him. Like, just be very wary of, not, I wouldn't say the company that you keep, but situations that you allow yourself to be put in. This is a election year, right? You have Trump running for re-election, so he's trying to be 45 and 47, and then you have Nick Bosa, who don't give two. He's been about this life, So, I mean, shit. If he could be Captain America, if he could be Homelander, he probably would. Just be wary of putting yourself in positions that you can be manipulated, that you could be used as propaganda of, yo, he's one of us. Just be wary about that. As for T. Higgins, maybe that's the right T. Higgins. After he saw that photo, he was like, I ain't fucking with him. Yo, what? Look, Jamal might be down with him, might be cool with him, because they went to school together. At LSU. I ain't fucking with him. And get me up out of here. Get me up out of here. Who they gonna beat them Bengals? Hey, not me. I'm getting the fuck up out. Get me out of here. Trade me. Just perhaps. Or maybe he just sees that this free agent class of wide receivers have dried up just that quick, because you have Pittman going back to the Colts quick fast. Never even made it to free agency. You have Mike Evans going back to the Bucks quick fast. Never even made it to free agency. And pretty much the top of this class is going to be Calvin Ridley. I mean, what? Gabe Davis went from Buffalo, went to Jacksonville. Speaking of Jacksonville, yeah, this is really free agent frenzy like a mother effer. Speaking of Jacksonville, do you know who they traded for? I believe the news came out yesterday. They traded for a backup quarterback. Not just any backup quarterback. No. They traded for former New England Patriots, a first-round draft pick of a couple years ago, Mac Jones. So now you have Trevor Lawrence and you have Mac Jones. How do you think Mac Jones is going to feel being the underling of Trevor Lawrence? I think he's coming for that head. If I was Trevor Lawrence, I'd get a haircut, because trust and believe, Mac Jones got the scissors out. He's going to try to cut your throat, or he's going to try to take your scalp. Look, he comes from New England, home of the cutthroat. I don't know, shady business. So yeah, I don't know. Calvin Ridley's going to be really the top of the heat. The king of the hill, and number one. You know what that means? That means the Jets are probably going to give him $30 million a year. You know, this just came to my mind. We are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all. You know, we're not done. We're not done. I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for making this podcast what it has become in this last year, because I mentioned it a couple episodes ago. You know, the trials and tribulations of Mike Steph episode. Please go in the archives. Please check that episode out. A lot of answers a lot of questions were answered, and that I will not get into again on this episode. But this last year, doing this podcast has really made me more confident in myself. I know you see the bombast, you see the dashingness, you see. I don't know why I kept that on so long, because I actually just diverted from what I was going to start with. But you see the debonair looks. But prior to this iteration of Salty Thoughts podcast, which used to be only audio only, I really didn't want to be on screen. I felt there was more of a freedom with me being just the voice, and I could probably get away with more, so you couldn't really match the face with the man, the voice with the man. And I'll go back to, if and when he does view this or listen to this, I'll go back to thinking feet wet, because he was on the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast last year. He was the guest of episode 1 and episode 2. Once again, another edition that we had so much fun. We had to chop it up into 2 episodes. But he allowed me to get my feet wet, get the air beneath my wings, fly. And throughout this year, I've learned a lot of things. I've learned a lot of ways to incorporate pictures, incorporate music, how to deal with the cranky YouTube algorithm. And are my numbers, quote unquote, where I would love them to be? Actually, this is going to surprise you. I'm not going to say this is totally truth, but yeah, because I am a proponent of hard work pays off eventually. Now, if you look at my subscriber number, I have 42 subscribers, right? So when I say the dozens and dozens of Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph listeners and viewers, I ain't lying. Got a couple dozen. But I like knowing that I started it from pretty much damn near zero to this point in 1 year. So you times that times 5. Do I think I'm going to do this when I'm 52? Who knows? I'm young at heart. But if you times that times 5, all right, that's 200 subscribers. Who knows? But I know that it was my hard work. It was support by my brother, the MoJo King, by Tyler McDowell, by behind the scenes, who one of these freaking weeks, I'm going to get him on the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph, Brad Winchester, because you actually see him without seeing his face. Anytime you see a new logo, a new design, yeah, that's the brainchild of Mr. Winchester. By the support of my lovely wife, Mrs. Ooh, by my brother Mart and my sister Steph, by Sister Ooh, by Smitty from the group home in Bergen Beach, by Mr. Low Fat Beats. All these entities by my lovely daughter, Main Event K, and, proprietor of The Rub. Get your mind out the gutter. That's not what I mean by rub. And that better not be what's in your mind when I say rub. The Mia Rub. My lovely daughter Mia, when she pops in, coming from her shoot job into while I'm recording. And she pops in and gives me a few seconds or a few minutes of her time. These are all things that allowed me to progress, to keep going, to give me motivation to continue being the best in the world at what I do, which is take that darn ticker off, because we are no longer talking about NFL free agency. So what came to my mind when right before I started this segment was I got all these pictures, and all these pictures were added at various points in this last year. Starting with this one. This is one of my favorites. That's Ghost, James St. Patrick, and that's his bitch-ass son, Tariq St. Patrick. Now, anytime I talk about respect, about respecting your elders, about people not knowing their place, that's where these pictures originated from. You see Ghost talking to his son. Listen, little nigga, you're going to watch your mouth. You're going to respect me. I'm your father. Listen, little nigga, I don't care how you think me and your mother going down. You are going to show me the proper respect. Listen, little mother effer, if I got to choke you up one more time, it's going to be a BCW case. Shows my age. Nowadays, I think it's ACS. And this, to me, is the personification of youth today. Not knowing their place. Not knowing that without the elders leading their way, there's no way in hell he could afford that nicely tailored suit that he's fucking up with a turtleneck. Or this. Look at him. Don't he look like a piece of crap? But yeah. Then we go down. When I used to talk about my New York Mets. Yeah, that was Mr. Met giving everybody the middle finger. I used this picture when the New York Mets officially just threw in the towel on their season. Hence why Mr. Met has a black eye. Remember last summer to be exact, where we was affected by the wildfires coming from Canada and had our skyline looking like the skyline from Dune? Remember that? I do. Oh, my favorite. Mr. Benson. Mayor Benson to be exact. GSD. Getting stuff done. Yeah, he's been a reoccurring figure on this on this podcast. And he will probably continue to be a figure on this podcast going forward until the masses of New York City vote his ass out. This is a very sentimental picture to me. Not because it's a Father's Day picture, a picture that says Happy Father's Day / no. Happy Motherfuckers Day. Because this was always an ongoing joke with me and my brother Coob. I remember I sent him this picture, wishing him a happy Father's Day. And, he started telling me, like, yeah, happy Motherfuckers Day. Are we lying? Literally, a father is a motherfucker, right? So, yeah, is it a little crude? Perhaps. But, shoot, that's what y'all love me for. This picture right here is actually, I kept this one because this one debuted when I had my son, Chef Mix, otherwise known as Mike Jr., to be exact. when I had him on the podcast, I think we was recapping Money in the Bank, amongst other things. And he had a dog at the time. And I said his dog reminded me of Santa Little Helper. He was a little dumb little fucking dog. You want to run out and then get back and then get scared. And next thing you know, 3 hours later, he's scratching on the door. Nobody told your dumbass to run out the house. Santa Little Helper. Tony Khan. I'm going to keep this picture in my archives forever because Tony Khan, CEO, owner of AEW, All Elite Wrestling, All Friends Wrestling, All Excuses Wrestling, all whatever wrestling. This guy, he will talk for 5 minutes straight, and it's almost like you have a still. You see his mouth moving, but his eyes don't blink. I think that's a symptom of Adderall addiction. See, at least I'm not calling him a cokehead like others. Now, this is a picture of my late great grandma. Speaking of which, me and my cousin U, we hung out yesterday in the city. I felt like a tourist. We went to Chelsea Market, and and being the fact he's from here, but he doesn't live here anymore. And I'm from here, but I just don't inhabit such places. We walked in there like Mutt and Jeff. He was Jeff, and I guess I was Mutt. But I say all that to say, I guess they would consider us second cousins, even though I consider him a first cousin, because our relation is from our grandmothers. Our grandmothers were sisters. So I remember I used to say, my grandma know how to cook better than your grandma. Why? Because my grandma fat. Your grandma not fat. So therefore, my fat grandma, she know how to cook. How do you know how she know how to cook? Because my grandmother's fat. And I say that lovingly because we used to laugh about that. Me and my grandma used to laugh about that. My grandmother, she told this story this is the story that she told me. She gained her weight from Kool-Aid and coffee. Stories, Kool-Aid, and coffee. Due to my grandmother, I became a follower of All My Children. I became a follower of One Life to Live. I became a follower of Loving, which was a spinoff of Ryan's Hope. I became a follower of the Daytime Stories because I used to sit on her lap while she would smoke her Viceroy 100 and sip her coffee, and I would sip some of her coffee at the age 5. That's probably has something to do with my lack of detail, lack of attention to detail, because I always go on tangents. Probably all that caffeine intake at such a young age, but I digress. But yeah, that was her story, and she stuck to it. Yeah, she gained weight based on Kool-Aid and coffee. This is a picture of my lovely grandma and my lovely mom to your right, and my uncle to the left. I will concentrate on the two females in the picture because I will not be disrespectful online. But needless to say that my mom, tell you the truth, if you really want to look at it, my grandma and my mom, I could tell where the genes are strong because Main Event K has strong resemblance to my mom and my grandma, and also one of my niece Kimmy. Yeah, if you put them in a row, you could definitely tell that that Berkshire blood runs deep. Picture of my mom. This is, I believe, this around a period of time I was talking about my mom. That's my late son Nakai when he was probably about, I want to say this was 2000, so he probably was around 4 or 5. It's funny because my youngest grandson Zaire, he will be turning 5 tomorrow. And in this picture, I swear, it's looking like I'm looking at Zaire right now, and that's his father. You know, Zaire is affectionately called by one of his aunts, Little Bill. And as soon as it was said, I was like, you know what? She has a point. Damn, my grandson does look like Little Bill. This picture, this was around the time that Zach Wilson was getting a lot of heat from the Just Faithful, and I actually grabbed this screen grab from Twitter, and it's something that I think I would love to kind of Photoshop if I had the patience of Photoshopping my face on this picture. That same thing would be in my head. And you know what that same thing would be? That bubble that says, suck my dick. I swear, with such vulgarity, I would never get sponsorships. And this is probably the worst episode that I could be vulgar like I am right now, because this might be one of these episodes that will determine whether or not a particular entity might want to work with yours truly. But like I said, I've told y'all for years, I don't edit nothing to my detriment or to my success. It is what it is. Moving on. Mint Adams. And you know what? Looking like Fidel Castro. This is one of the I believe this is the episode when I was talking about him actually going down to Mexico. He wanted to go down to Mexico and let them know, well, not only Mexico, but Central America, and let them know, look, New York, no mas. You know, if you're people from these countries, I was about to say shithole countries, from these countries want libertad. Tell them to get libertad elsewhere. Do not come to the not United States. You can come to the United States. Don't come to New York effing city. Look at him. Like I say, looking like a dictator himself. And who's homegirl in the back with the They Live glasses? Matter of fact, who's the other guy that looked like the dude that used to run 21 Jump Street? Damn, what was his name? I forgot. He was a famous actor. I think he reappeared on a couple episodes of The Chi before he got murked. Stephen Williams. Yeah, doesn't he look like Stephen Williams? Doesn't he look like a member of Men in Black trying to zap your memory? Darn, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, you know, then you got the people in the background looking for libertad. Now, these are the days. Do you know out of the 4 players in this picture, only 2 remain on the New York Knicks? And not only do 2 remain on the New York Knicks, only 1 is currently active on the New York Knicks? Yes, that would be number 11, Jalen Brunson. RJ Barrett, we shipped this ass over the border to Canada, to his native land. Grimes. Well, Grimes, he just never was consistent. So we shipped his ass out there too. I think we shipped him to Detroit. And then Julius Randle, for all his faults, for all the slander I've given Julius Randle over the years, I'm not going to lie, we could use him right now because we're like the Walking Dead. Speaking of the Walking Dead, I was watching Samsung TV has Samsung TV Plus, an app, right, that has a Walking Dead channel. And I was watching a couple of the very beginning episodes of The Walking Dead, and I had these observations. Yeah, I know I just went on another tangent, but so be it. That's what makes this podcast what it is. Rick Grimes, right? He had a wife in Lori, and he had a son, Carl. And he had a best friend called Shane. Well, I call Shane, named Shane. When the apocalypse broke out and they split up, and Rick was in the I think he was in the not the ambulance, in the hospital. Don't you know that Lori ran off with his best friend and their son, who, yes, I get it. He did help protect them. He did help them survive, but that didn't mean she was supposed to give up the nappy dugout. Wasn't supposed to do that. And then when Rick came back, and he sniffed it out, like, I know Lori around here somewhere, because look at it this way. In apocalyptic times, do you really think that female hygiene was on the up and up? Imagine how the female zombies smelt like. Not only did you have rancid bots from lack of cleanliness amongst the living, imagine how the female bots smelt like from the dead. Anyway, so Lori was giving up the nappy dugout. Actually, probably not the nappy dugout, because she was not African American. So what would be the dugout of a Caucasian? Would it be? Anyway, not only was she giving up the box to his best friend, when Rick came back, she started giving up the box to its rightful owner, and then told Shane, "Look, whatever happened, that shit's your persona non grata, because my old faithful back." Of course, Shane wanted to take Rick head off. Of course, Shane wanted to murk Rick. Rick ended up having the final say, and needless to say, Lori did not survive. Yeah, it ain't a spoiler. The Walking Dead is over. Yeah, they got spin-offs, but The Walking Dead is over. And I was so glad that was one character besides Eddie Torres from New York Undercover that I was so happy when they got killed off. I was happier than Jerry Jones with his companion in this picture. And with Jerry Jones, you could tell Jerry Jones that had way too many single malt whiskeys, and he probably got caught out there, but he was like, you know what? I'm Jerry Jones. I could pay for this to disappear. Matter of fact, I could pay for you to disappear. Yeah, this is when I was talking about the New York City Transit joke of a barricade a couple weeks ago. This is a picture from last week with Governor Hochul talking and supporting the NYC congestion pricing bill. More Nurse Jackie. Less said about her, the better. This is a recent picture that I put up when commemorating the 3rd year of my son's passing, Nakai, with him and Chef Mix looking like he probably bent over from drinking too much and about to Earl. But besides that, my son Kai styling and profiling. My son Kai styling and profiling with my oldest grandson, Jameer James Lewis, to be exact. And my son Kai looking only as he could look in a mirror, in a picture, admiring himself and just letting the sun bask in his glory. This one is probably one of my favorites. This one is the dude from Hey Arnold, always talking about, where's my sandwich? Where's my sandwich? I'm sorry. You know what? Maybe I wouldn't look so desolate. Maybe I wouldn't stink so bad if my wife would just get up and make me a sandwich. I swear, he's a waste of space. And less said about him, the better. But he will be a mainstay going forward. This is another one of my pictures from with my son when I was reminiscing about how he would sit in that high chair of his and have his Cheerios with a sippy cup. He was just so independent. I miss him so. Super Bowl time. Ice Spice looking scared to death. And Taylor Swift talking about, yeah, you know, like she knows that much about football, but she looked like she knows more about football than Mrs. Ice Spice. You know, I wish I would have had chance to add another picture that I actually took today. And maybe I'll do. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll add it during the intro. I mean, during the outro. But this is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson telling Cody Rhodes of WWE fame, fuck your story. You know, the story of you actually gaining the WWE Universal Championship, the WWE Championship that eluded the late, great American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Yeah. He told Cody Rhodes, fuck your story. Slap the SHIT out of him. And made him wish he was smoking that crack like Griselda. But yeah. That's my year full of pictures. That's my year in pictures. You know, and that's not counting the numerous amount of pictures that got deleted because StreamYard hates Mike Steph. StreamYard loves to sabotage the salty thoughts of Mike Steph. StreamYard likes to glitch the hell out of Mike Steph. And I would end this segment of the 1 year and the 1 year celebration of the salty thoughts of Mike Steph with the all-time favorite. Actually, probably two all-time favorites, but this is favorite number one. Carry the stuff upstairs. I will give you credit. We carry the stuff upstairs, and then you put them away, right?
Yeah.
Why do you put them away? Have I ever offered to put them away?
Yes.
All right. And what happens when I put them away?
I'd rather do it myself.
Ah!
Because I would have to rearrange it.
Because you like things done a particular way, correct?
Yes.
So I can clean the bathroom. I would think I would do an exceptional job cleaning the bathroom, but it would not be exceptional in her point of view. So therefore, to avoid any type of conflict, guess what happens?
Ain't no right or wrong way to clean in the bathroom. You just clean it till it's clean.
Yeah, but
no, I think it's the right and wrong way.
Okay, what would be the wrong way?
Well, she just said it. Clean it till it's clean.
Yes,
She said clean it till it's clean.
But if I clean it and she doesn't deem it to be clean enough, then she would go around it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So therefore, it goes the old adage: if you want things done right, you do it yourself.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
So can you fuck yourself if you want it done
Oh
right?
Lord, have mercy.
I can't. And it won't feel like I feel. So
Not that any of y'all will ever be able to prove me wrong, but she was 100% right. It wouldn't feel like she felt or she feels. You know, she was the original sponsor of the Salty Thoughts podcast. You know, the Lewis Snapback Box, available only in my apartment, more specifically, only in my bed. And speaking of which, this was another oldie but good. When Roman Reigns had the t-shirt, wreck everyone and leave, well, guess what? I need to come out with a t-shirt that says the following. Mike Steph, wreck the pussy and leave. Oh! Acknowledge me. No, don't acknowledge me. Acknowledge these. These nuts, that is. Yeah, I'm on a roll. I'm giving y'all my salty thoughts from my humble abode. Not only do we call this my humble abode, you know how Roman Reigns has his island of relevancy? Well, guess what? Mike Steph has his apartment of relevancy. Yeah. Pay rent every damn month to keep it relevant. Because if there's no rent, there's no relevancy. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of this special 1 year anniversary edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. This picture that you see on your screen is the spousal chief with the high chief, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah, me and The Rock was hanging out the other day, in front of this spot where he was trying to hawk his Terramana tequila, and I had to let him know that the spousal chief was in effect. As you can tell, he was a little stiff. And tell you the truth, I was the same, and just had to do chief things. Big things are popping. Big things. Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for making me in this here podcast, this here entity, the one y'all choose to view and the one y'all choose to listen to. Next week, what will we talking about? I don't know. It seems like that's a familiar refrain for me. I don't know what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna talk about, and then all of a sudden something comes right in my lap, and I just give that sexual healing. Get up, even company and ooh oh me. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little frisky. Normally occasions like this, I usually have a cameo or two from Mrs. Ooh, Main Event K, the lovely Mia, Chef Mix, somebody. No. As I said, the countdown to the road to 200 and the road to number 50 are still in effect. So probably on that stupendous edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph, I will have more than one rabbit. I will pull out my hat. I will have more than one hat. I'll pull out my pocket. I will have more than one pocket that I will stuff. But yeah, I guess it's the time I'll do my little plugs. My special guest on this edition, the MoJo King, has a podcast of his own. Not a podcast he shares with me. No, a podcast of his own. And that would be Hidden Gems Golf. For all the latest in the world of fantasy golf, check out the Hidden Gems Czar himself. Every Wednesday on all streaming platforms wherever podcasts are available, for his insight, for his expertise in the land, in the world of fantasy golf. Yes. Even though this is kind of like a impromptu edition of Hidden Gems Football, the official Hidden Gems Football featuring the MoJo King and myself. New episodes drop each and every Thursday during football season on the YouTube page, on the YouTube channel of the 19 Media Group. So since we're in the off season, still check out the YouTube channel of the 19 Media Group. Hit that notification button, especially hit the notification button for Hidden Gems Football. And if we decide to bless the masses with just a little bit more than the taste that you got here on Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph, you'll be glad you did. Speaking of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast is available on the following platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, amongst others. New episodes, audio version, drop each and every Wednesday. You can catch me on the social media atmosphere on X at Mike Stephens _, at Mike _Steph on the gram, and at Mike Steph _ on TikTok. This is something I always end up forgetting, but I will not forget it now on such a stupendous episode. Please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment so I can interact with y'all. So we can catch on to this algorithm and ride the rave. Because, I think another podcast bit the dust due to infighting, due to selfishness, due to big-headedness. And I think that podcast is, what was it? My Expert Opinion, featuring Matt Hoffa. Yeah. So I hear. Maybe they'll come up with another iteration. I don't know. But when your co-hosts start dropping like flies, such as Esso, Heineken, Bigger, and now Champ, Misfit from back in the initial days, that means there's more room for me. There's more room for the head of the table. There's more room for the tribal chief. Matter of fact, the spousal chief. Speaking of tribal and spousal and all that, my lovely granddaughter, is coming to visit this upcoming weekend. Yes. And I told her just a few minutes ago, that's why I actually had to press the pause button for a minute. Just told her just a few minutes ago that, yes, I indeed acknowledge her as my tribal princess. Yes. So I can't wait to see her in person. Yeah, so there's no reason to drag this out anymore because this has been a very interesting edition. A little bit more helter-skelter than I had planned it to be, but I really think the impromptu-ness of a lot of things that happened today was probably magnifique. Hopefully, you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed giving it to you. So until next week, oh, darn, I almost forgot. Check out my brothers from Gimmick Infringement, Winchester and McDowell, or Winchester and McDowell, each and every late Sunday night, early Monday morning on the YouTube page, on the YouTube channel of the 19 Media Group for Gimmick Infringement, where they recap the latest happenings, the last week's happenings in the world of professional wrestling. But they're not only just a wrestling podcast. No, they're actually not really just a wrestling podcast at all. They're a podcast of lifestyle, of leisure, of friendship, of family, of love, of recaps, of reviews, of, various roses of Tyler, various trap tales, various tales of one day when you have kids. They're friends. So please check them out. And now I can actually get out of here. Stitch, you have anything to say? Do you have anything to say? Let's take you here. Stitch is rocking the hat from the BRP, the Black Wrestling Podcast, that drops each and every Thursday, 8:35 for BRP Live. Or you can check them out on Patreon. Pay the $1 or pay the $10. You'll be glad you did. And you would be in the running to get such merchandise as this hat that I got a couple years ago, commemorating their foray to Big D, Dallas, Texas. So, Stitch, besides me using you as a prop to actually plug some shit, do you have anything else to say? Oh, he told me to go screw myself because once again I left him for last. But he doesn't realize that sometimes being left for last means the amount of respect that I have for him is up here. Yeah, off the screen. But if he keeps on getting in his feelings about the fact of that I'm leaving him into the last thing on my docket, he would not only be down here, he would be off the screen. He would be out of my apartment of relevancy. Yeah, so I'm gonna get out of here. Until next week. Goodbye. Oops. I said until next week. Goodbye. Get out of here. But more importantly, what?